Mickey's received the killer nomination. Are we surprised? Celebrity Big Brother episode 3, and we had our first bit of drama. Mickey asked Jojo where the smoking room was, and when she took him outside, he was asking her if she liked boys or girls, and she said girls, and then he says, I can tell. Which, first of all, I was like, can you? So when he was outside, he started making jokes about it, and he says to Chris, oh, I'm going to get the lesbian out first. Obviously, he shouldn't be talking about nominations in the first place, so I still feel as if he should have got 2 warnings instead of 1. I made a short video before the episode had even come on, and I said, I think that Mickey's going to be saying this in a jokey way, and he's not even going to realise what he's done wrong, and that is actually what happened. Jojo said, if that's the reason you're voting for me, that's homophobic. And then he said, oh, I want a fag, I'm not talking about you. Now, as I said as well in my last video, in case you don't know, in Scotland we call cigarettes fags. He also said, if I'm in the house for more than 4 days, you won't be gay anymore. Now, it's very clear that to him this was banter. But the thing that I don't like about it is, like, she's 20-something, and he's 70. He's old enough to be her granddad. Like, you just don't make jokes like that. It's creepy. When he was saying, I'm going to get the lesbian out first, that was also in a jokey way, and I think that she could have let that go. But then when he made the comment about the fag, like, that, we just don't use that word at all in that capacity. It's not a joke. Like, it's not funny whatsoever. And Chris was doing a very good job explaining that to him. On the Late and Live show, everybody was loving Chris. They were saying he is like the way a heterosexual man should be. He doesn't judge MD, he likes people in drag, he doesn't judge them no matter what their sexuality is. He's an ally. Like, he's totally sticking up for Jojo, and he went over and comforted her. And people were saying, like, in that situation it's easy to just step aside and not want to get involved. But he actually did get involved, and he went over and made sure she was feeling okay. And she actually was quite upset. I know there's got to be people out there who say she's exaggerating, but as she said, she's only known him for 24 hours. You can speak like that with somebody, maybe if you've been friends with them for years, but they're not comfortable with each other like that yet. And then using the F word, which I don't even want to say again, that is a shocking thing to say, especially to a young person. People just don't use language like that anymore, and if they do, then they shouldn't. As somebody who grew up in the 80s and 90s, I've heard people saying that for decades, and thankfully they don't say stuff like that anymore. But when you're part of the younger generation, if somebody comes out with something like that, you're like, what the hell's going on? When Mickey got called into the diary room and he was being given a warning, you can tell that he doesn't usually get spoke to like that. He was like rotting, he was showing he was very uncomfortable. And I think he was very sincere when he says, I didn't mean it in a bad way, I was just like having a joke kind of thing. But he needs to understand that he doesn't know these people well enough to make these jokes. I think he was quite clearly surprised that he was getting a warning and how serious it was. Like, he came out and he's like, oh, I really got in trouble there, as if I don't even know what's going on. Now, we know that he already doesn't know what's going on at the best of times, but this made matters even worse. When he came back into the kitchen, he apologised to Jojo, and she was trying to explain her feelings, and then he just kind of walked away. He just wasn't having any of it, but I don't know if maybe he could have been embarrassed, but I do genuinely think that he was sorry. Later he was talking to Danny, and Danny says, like, I'm not going to exclude you because of what you say, like, people can have opinions and like you can learn from it or whatever. And then he said that he used to work in a club, and I don't even know if I can say transvestite, right? I don't know if like you're allowed to say that, because I've not heard him saying it for years. But he's obviously not thinking that's offensive, because that just used to be a normal thing to say. The whole situation is just really awkward. Later in the bedroom, he gave Jojo a scarf that he says he got made, and she accepted it, and she was very nice about it, and she was so mature about it, and she didn't lose her shit whatsoever. And as I said on live earlier, Jojo has been in the public eye on reality TV since she was a wee girl. She is PR trained to the max, especially considering all her stuff that she did when she was younger was geared towards children. And okay, now she's an adult and she does certain things that people find controversial, but she's not going to make any stupid mistakes, really. So Mickey was asking, like, are you allowed to say transvestite? Like, are you allowed to say this and that? And Jojo was saying, like, you can say anything as long as it's in the right context, and as long as if you make a mistake you ask and you learn from it. And then when he said the F word again, And they were like, no, you can't say that, no way, have you got any more questions? And he's like, no. Like, he's just digging himself a deeper hole. And I genuinely don't think he's meaning it. I don't think he's trying to be nasty whatsoever, but it's not good. Then when Donna had on her LED mask and he was saying, oh, is it working, blah, 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 and he says, you are what you eat, I was just like, what the fuck is he talking about? She's wearing that for her skin. He's obviously having a dig at her because she's like overweight. And at least she found it funny, because she went to Danny and Ella and she's like, oh my god, like, I had this mask on and he says you are what you eat, and they had a laugh about it. She didn't lose her shit, she didn't like get upset or whatever. It was just like, again, like, Mickey opens his mouth and everybody just is looking at each other like, what the fuck's going on here? Then he says to Jojo, Big Brother has to work on their food. And Jojo says, oh, Patsy's been doing the cooking. And he says, oh, has Patsy been cooking? How has he been in that house and not noticed Patsy cooking? Does he just spend the whole day in the room or out at the smoking area? And Patsy didn't even say anything, right? But it was just so awkward. How can you be so unaware? My mum always makes jokes about me not paying attention to things going on around me. Like, I'll come in and she'll say, oh, did you notice I cut the grass? And I'll say, why would I notice that? That's not something I pay attention to. But surely to God I would notice somebody cooking and plating up food. Now, if he's not noticed that she's cooking, he's obviously not cooking. He's obviously not cleaning up after himself. Like, what's he doing all day? Patsy, Ella and Chris were talking about getting cleansed. And Ella says, oh, we should go and get that done together. Imagine. There is people who go and get stuff like that done together, because I seen a TikTok video of two friends that went and got it done, and they went and got a coffee one done. I've never in my life thought, that looks fun. But see, even if I did think it looked fun, or if I thought, oh, that would make you feel really good, I would never say to my pal, well, Mum, we'll go and get that done together and we'll have a wee chat while we're getting it done. It's bizarre. On the Late and Live show, we got to see two nominations. One was from Jack for Danny, because he says he farted and it was stinking and he walked into it. Well, okay, it's a reason. And one was from Donna, and it was actually so funny because David was through the back and he was watching through the mirrors and he says, oh, look at this, and it showed you like loads of aftershaves and they were all Jack's. Now, remember, he's only there for 3 weeks. He's got this like stack of aftershave, and they were saying, oh, he must smell really good. So then when she voted for Jack, she says, oh, it's because he smells too strong. He puts on 3 different smells a day and they just layer up, and every time I walk past them I need to hold my breath. Obviously at this point they don't have a lot of things to nominate people on, and they can't nominate Mickey because he's already been killer nominated. They had 3 guests on the Late and Live show. One was a woman, and for the life of me I don't know who she is, but she pointed out that Mickey made jokes about Jojo being a lesbian and all that, but yet he hasn't said anything to Michael or Danny. He hasn't made any comments like that to them at all. And then people in the audience were saying, oh, well, lesbians are notoriously get a harder time than gays. I actually don't know if that's true. I think it really depends on the situation, but that's right, like, he hasn't said anything to Danny or Michael at all, so why was he only making the comments to Jojo? Again, I don't think he's doing it in a nasty way. It's just not panning out well for him. So let me know who you think's going to be up for nomination. Obviously Mickey's going to be up because he was killer nominated. I think Danny will be up because he's quite loud. And honestly, I don't even know. Like, I honestly don't even know. At this point, we just don't know enough. If you enjoy watching these videos, consider giving me a follow. And if you know anybody else that likes to have a rant about it, share this video. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye!